to Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, the Texans, they have a bye week, but here at Texans Today, we don't take any weeks off, so we're still giving you the latest Texans news and rumors. Also, some teams inside the AFC South, they're making some moves as well, so we'll break down those free agency moves that happened today. Also, some Texans trade targets. Who could they look to add as we get closer and closer to the NFL trade deadline? Also, who are some guys that the Texans could look to deal away? Those are two of the segments that we have on today's show, and we always end the program with a Texans fan mailbag. So if you could, you can either super chat with your question on the screen, or if you use hashtag Texans, my guy on the ones and twos, our MLB lead here at Chat Sports, Mr. Jack Lotteray, will be able to put it up on screen for you. Thank you to each and every single person that showed up into today's show. I see 1TZ Cosmo. What's up, my guy? Amanda Pearl saying, let's go. Bennett Kuchka, a legend here at Texans Today. How we doing? Aussie Game says, Yo Tango. Oh, I don't speak Spanish that well, so I don't know if that's good or not, but appreciate you for showing up. Jay is in the building. Mario Cordova, Stroud for MVP, Texans Tally, Anthony Green, all pulling up with the ceiling missing. All right, quick question as we get started. It's also the live poll on today's program. Which team do you think is better at the moment? Both of the Texans AFC South rivals are 4-1 to start the year. But who do you think is the better squad? If you think it's the Jaguars, type JAC, or if you think it's the Indianapolis Colts, type IND. I'm interested to see what y'all have to say. What? Oh, yo tengo muy preguntos means I have many questions. Okay. Well, Ozzy, hashtag Texans, get those questions up on screen. King QLA says IND. Carlos Castillo is saying IND. Stroud for MVP. That's the correct answer, is Houston. J-Dub says Jacksonville. Anthony saying the Colts. CeeLo says Jacksonville. 1TZ Cosmo says IND for sure. I don't know. Senior Larry, I don't think anybody is saying the Tennessee Titans. I think the Tennessee Titans might be in line for that first overall pick once again. Can a meteor hit both from Brandon? That's hilarious. Kenneth Gradington says neither. Oscar says Indy. Anthony, I hate the Colts. You know why? Anthony, I feel your pain, buddy. I feel your pain. Also, something big on today's show. Here's our super chat menu. Any super chat gets you on screen. A $5 super chat. We actually have it in studio. Look at this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. We have it in studio finally. The Will Anderson Jr. autographed H-Town alternate helmet. Every $5 super chat in the month of October puts you in that raffle for this bad boy right here. And hey, we might see some free raffle tickets because I tell y'all every time, you pull up to the live shows, if you pull up to the watch parties, I will give away some free raffle tickets for the real ones that show up. I forgot to put it on the super chat menu, but we're continuing putting on our helmet stickers for the Texans Today Hall of Fame helmet. Once this fills up, we're going to raffle this bad boy off to anybody who has a helmet sticker. So if you want a chance to win that, $5 super chats right there. And also, I made the deal last week. Y'all seem to like it, so I'll make the deal again. $100, I'll do the final segment of today's show, the mailbag portion of the program with my Texans Today helmet on. So if y'all want to make me look like a complete fool, y'all can do that as well. I have another quick question for y'all folks at home as we get rocking and rolling on today's program, because basketball, it's right around the corner, and the Houston Rockets look like one of the top teams in the Western Conference. So we don't have a Rockets channel right now. We do have some basketball channels here at Chat Sports. Our Knicks channel is massive. We have a Miami Heat channel that's really good. Celtics, Warriors, Lakers. We also have a Mavs channel, a Bulls channel as well, a Sixers channel. I knew I was missing some. If I did a Rockets watch party, if I just did a couple of them, Would y'all tune in? Give me a yes or no down in the comments section. I'm interested to see. I want to gauge, the fan base here at Texans Today. All of my amazing viewers. Once again, thank you to everybody who clicked into today's live show. The most valuable thing you have in this life is your time. So thank you for spending some of that time here on Texans Today. So let me know, would you tune in if I did a Rockets watch party? It's okay if you say yes, if you say no. I didn't even think about it. There's a really big crossover of Texans and Spurs fans as well. So let me know if you would be in for a Rockets watch party at some point this season. Anthony says absolutely. Juan says only for bigger. I agree. Maybe the first game with the Thunder and the Rockets, that would be maybe a interesting matchup there, or maybe some big games throughout the year. Maybe I don't know. So some marquee matchups. Let me know what y'all think down below in the comments. Anthony says F the Spurs. Hey, to each their own. I do know, like I said, there's quite a bit of Spurs-Texans crossover. Obviously, no pro football team in San Antonio. Jay says yes. Texans Tally says hells to the yeah. They need your enthusiasm. Stroud for MVP says I was a Rockets fan until Harden left. Dude, those Harden years were It's like the quote from The Office. I wish you knew you were in the good old days while you were in them. Those years with James Harden absolutely cooking up the rest of the league were insane. Anthony Green, you're a Wizards fan? Dude, I'm sorry for you, my good friend. A Wizards fan. That is a rough one. Oh, Lee Garza in the chat. He actually just messaged me. Got the cup. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Anthony says, I live in D.C. That's fair. That's fair. Being a Wizards fan, though, I can't even imagine what it's been like for the past, 5-10 years? The Wizards have been just, they've been basura, trash. Stroud for MVP, he was averaging 40. Yeah, that famous line from Stephen A. The man's averaging 40 points a game. Hope Kevin Durant can bring some stability back and less bloody penalties. Dude, I hope so. I'm really excited to see what Amin Thompson can do. Alperen Şengün, our sweet prince, has been absolutely killing it in the Euro. I don't know if it's the Euro whatever European tournament they've been having over there. He's been going off. He was absolutely working Kristaps Porzingis whenever they played each other. I'm excited to see what this Rockets team can do this season. Producer Jack is telling me we don't have nearly enough Texans questions on today's program. So if you want to ask a Texans question or a question around the NFL, get it in. You'll have a good chance to get on today's program. All you got to do is use hashtag Texans in your comment so you can get up on screen. We still need some more questions for our mailbag, but that's at the end of today's show. If you want to get a head start, though, and have a good chance to get on the Texans Today mailbag at the end of the show, make sure hashtag Texans in your comment so we can get you up on screen. And producer Jack is also telling me it's about time to get this show on the road. So if you want to get into our segments on today's show, Yoda Jenkins, how are we doing? We need to get 50 likes to start the show. We have over 100 people, 25 likes. Can we get that number up to 50? And we'll get started with our first segments on the program. Yoda Jenkins, Anthony Green, Jay, some real ones in the chat. Oscar, we need Amin to dominate at point. Dude, yeah, especially with Fred VanVleet out, I think, for basically the year. Also, shout out to Hal Water. Hey, Yoda Jenkins popping up all over Chat Sports. He was in the Red Sox stream. Jack also, like I said, our baseball guy. If you want, Jack, you can put up the baseball games if you need. I know. Yeah. Last time I checked, I think the Mariners were up 2-0 on the Tigers. They're up 3-0 now. Okay. Jay said we have a third overall pick to hey, I'm excited to see what he can do. Reed Shepherd has barely been getting any run, but it's always the off-season workout videos that get you the most hype. Like, just in the gym, he's wearing like a tank top, just hitting corner threes. Oh, yeah. And it's like, oh, yeah, Reed Shepherd just hit 10 threes in a row. He's ready for this demon is ready for the season. All right, we're 8 likes away from 50. Then we'll get our first segment on the show started. I think I need my fan. I'm a little hot in here. Oh, dude, Steph Curry is insane. He's absolutely insane. Getting 50 points in the G League is hard, brother. I agree, dude. The G League is really, really good. There's some still really good players that come from the G League that, kind of play there for a little bit, then they come up and kind of show out. Texans, who will see? Oh, that's a good question. T. Herringer. Make sure there's no space in between the hashtags, though. I don't know if that one will pull. It will pull? Oh, it will not. Yeah, T. Hardinger. I like the question. Just don't put a space in between hashtag and Texans so we can get your question up on the screen. All right. We just hit 50 likes on today's video, so we're going to get into the first segment on today's show, which is going to be around the latest Texans news and rumors, some roster news around the NFL, some stuff that us Texans fans need to know. Even though it's a bye week, hey, Texans fans, here at Texans Today, we don't take any weeks off, so we're still bringing you the best content here on YouTube. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Jack, we ready to roll? All right, Jack's giving me the thumbs up. Let's get into our first segment here on Texans Today. Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and on today's program, we're going to be looking at some Texans roster moves that have happened. Also, major NFL roster news around some of our rivals in the AFC South. Also, a former player for the Houston Texans got signed. We'll break that down. And then Bleacher Report said one player on this Texans roster has broken out this season. Who is that? I'll tell you at the end of today's program. Before we get going, quick shout out to CJ Stroud. Yeah! Like the video if you love CJ Stroud, and show him some love because he is your AFC Offensive Player of the Week. 85 completion percentage, 4 tutties up against the Baltimore Ravens. He was slicing and dicing. I know the Ravens, they weren't at full capacity, but all you can do is play the guys that are lined up in front of you, and CJ Stroud, he was playing this past week. So if you love CJ7, if you want to show him some love for an awesome week up against the Ravens, go down and hit that thumbs up icon, like the video to show him a little bit of love. All right, the newest Texan, Marlon Davidson, which I'm pretty sure he's been on the Texans practice squad plenty of times. He's kind of bounced around the NFL. He's one of these practice squad guys who's, been here. He's, probably played for about 3 or 4 practice squads per season. A defensive lineman. Bigger guy, 6'3", 303 pounds, can play that 3 technique defensive tackle. A little bit of, the nose tackle, but more of that, 3 shade for him. He adds to this Texans practice squad because there was one guy who got elevated from the practice squad, Trent Brown. He is on the active roster after that trade for sending Cam Robinson to the Cleveland Browns. The Texans went ahead and made it official, made Trent Brown a part of the Texans 53-man. Even though he didn't travel with the team to Baltimore, he is expected to be on this Texans team, be a part of the active roster for game days now as another backup tackle for this Texans team. Just some, housekeeping news and notes for this Texans squad. But let's get into probably why a lot of y'all clicked into today's video and a lot of y'all probably heard this news. C.J. Gardner-Johnson signed with the Baltimore Ravens. Currently on their practice squad, but I imagine they will pull him up to the active roster. He was released by the Houston Texans after an 0-3 start. And a report is that there was a ton of friction between him and multiple people within this Texans organization. And I made a joke on Twitter that C.J. Gardner-Johnson, obviously, he's afraid to play the Houston Texans. He signed with the Ravens only after the Texans' 44-10 drubbing of Baltimore, and, mostly jokes there, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I'm not trying to be petty here, but is this a little bit of karma? He didn't want to play for a bad team, and now, all that complaining from C.J. Gardner-Johnson, all that lip service, and now he goes to a team that just lost 44-10 and is currently 1-4. If that's not karma, I don't know what is. Type those LOLs down in the comment section. I'm going to be a little petty today. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to be a little petty today. Because you know who else was petty? C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I don't forget all the reports. Remember how I said there was some friction? Well, this was the report from Aaron Wilson, KRPC, on the Gardner-Johnson drama. Listen to this. Among the issues that arose with Gardner-Johnson, per sources, criticism of teammates in the secondary, including the size of one other player's contract, complaints about his role, including a desire to blitz more frequently, and trade requests. It was simply too much for this Texans team to tolerate. And it's funny because, a little, deducing a little, just reasoning around that quote of, worrying about another player's contract, wanting to play in another player's role. It was obvious. He's talking about Jalen Pitre. He was talking about number 5. And funny enough, he had 2 interceptions up against the Baltimore Ravens and might be one of the best players on this Texans defense so far through 5 weeks. So I just think it's funny C.J. Gardner-Johnson ends up signing with the Baltimore Ravens, had problems with Jalen Pitre about his contract size and saying, I can play the Pitre role better than Pitre. Why are you paying this bum whenever I can do that? I'm a Super Bowl champion. I'm this and that. Good riddance. Good riddance to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. If you ask me, I would much rather have a guy like Jalen Pitre 6 days out of the week, 7 or twice on Sundays. I would take Jalen Pitre over C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and it looks like the Texans made the right decision because no other team was really calling for C.J. Gardner-Johnson except the Baltimore Ravens, and they're kind of down in the dumps right now, if you haven't noticed, after the Texans absolutely took him behind the woodshed. Now, there was another big roster move that we need to break down because this one actually impacts your Houston Texans down the road. The Colts added a major piece to this defense. Who is it? I'll tell you in just a moment, but a quick word from our sponsors. I love them. I know producer Jack loves them too. It's Prize Picks, and this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. It's super simple. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. And I actually have, from our Eagles guys, a Thursday night football lineup for you. Look at this. Straight from our guys, Chase Sr. and Jake Chipper. Shout out to y'all. This is what their lineup looks like. They're going A.J. Brown more than 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. That's a demon pick for good reason. He's been complaining all season long that he hasn't been getting the ball enough. Maybe is it Thursday night he gets it up against the G-Man. Jake Elliott, they're going less on 1.5 field goals made. It sounds like they're looking for a lot of touchdowns over there in Philly. And then Jackson Dart, 30.5 pass attempts. They're going the more on that. They think Dart is going to sling it on Thursday night. You can use this lineup or go ahead and make your own with our friends over at Prize Picks. And one of the best things about Prize Picks is that they actually invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can even double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Absolutely beautiful. So go ahead and download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk about another big roster move that happened in the NFL. Actually, the same day that I was filming this video. Veteran linebacker Jermaine Pratt has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts. Per me and Rap Sheet, 4 other teams called and were interested, but Pratt wanted to reunite with his former Bengals DC, Lou Anarumo, in Indianapolis. And there was a lot of friction between Jermaine Pratt and the Raiders organization that ended up releasing him this past week. And it's funny because I was talking to our Raiders report host, Mitchell Renz, and he was telling me the Raiders actually made Jermaine Pratt a healthy scratch up against the Indianapolis Colts. It was an away game in Indianapolis, and the front office was afraid that Pratt was actually going to reunite with his former DC, Lou Anarumo, during that game, like after the game, during the game. And, I don't know exactly what they were afraid of, but looks like they had good reason to be afraid because as soon as they cut him, that's exactly where he ends up going, a new member of the Indianapolis Colts. And this is a tough one for Texans fans because Pratt, even though he does, have some issues as, a glue guy in the locker room, he's not necessarily the best teammate as we've seen in the past. He was yelling at, former Bengals teammates in Cincinnati for, penalties, other stuff during the playoffs just a couple of years ago. Jermaine Pratt, though, is a decent linebacker, and it helps add to this Colts defense. They're already on a roll. And adding a guy like Pratt will most definitely help out this Colts defense, which the Texans still have to play 2 times during this season. Something that you need to note if you're a Texans fan as we look forward later in the season when we face Indianapolis. Now, last up on today's program, Bleacher Report. They named a breakout player for the Houston Texans, and I actually couldn't agree more. The person who they named, Ed Ingram. The Texans were able to get him from the Minnesota Vikings for only a 6th-round pick in return. They traded for Ed Ingram, and a former first-round pick out of LSU was a bust with Minnesota, but it's looking like he's turned the tide in Houston. Here are his 2025 stats and PFF grades. Overall, 84.0. That's good enough for the 2nd highest graded guard in the National Football League. Run blocking grade, 86.1. Also good for the 2nd highest rated guard in the NFL. Pass blocking, a little bit down, right? 63.3. Could be a little bit better. Only 1 sack allowed, though, and 0 penalties on the season. And us Texans fans, if we love anything with our offensive linemen, it's that 0 next to the penalty number, because we saw our fair share of offensive line penalties last season and, to be honest, a little bit to start this regular season. Ed Ingram, he has been one of the bright spots on this Texans offensive line, and the rest of the offensive line seems like it's coming up. And Ed Ingram has led the pack so far this year. What a great move by Nick Caserio. He made a couple questionable ones this offseason. C.J. Gardner-Johnson being one of them. Cam Robinson another. But he got one right in trading for Ed Ingram. Shout out to you, Ed. Great job in revitalizing your career and being a big part of this Texans offensive line turnaround. I completely agree with Bleacher Report that he is a breakout player for this Texans team. He was somebody who our Vikings host, Patrick Seaman, he actually laughed when the Texans traded for him, saying, good luck. He's not even going to make the 53-man. Now he's actually one of the best guards in the entire National Football League. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can do so at Jeremy Chuggs. My DMs are always open. And hey, you made it to the end of the video. I'm doing something right, so hit that subscribe button for daily Texans content all season long. Ow! 1 segment in the books. We got a lot of people rolling in. Lion Fighter X, another real one. Shout out to you. I haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you, Lion Fighter. T. Hardinger, Gian Harvey, Texans Tally, Yoda Jenkins, Overwatch 77, all repping in the building. Alberto Serrato, how we doing? I have a quick question for y'all. Ed Ingram, one of the newest Texans on this team. I want to know, who's the best new player on the team this season? Is it Ed Ingram? Is it one of the rookies? Is it Christian Kirk? Let me know. Who's the best new player on this Texans team? Is it maybe EJ Speed? Let me know down in the comment section. Let me know what you are thinking. You messed up the poll. It's supposed to read Colts, Jags, both teams suck, from Brandon Hallam. Yeah, I feel that. Ursery or Marks? Marcus Minter's going with one of the rookies, an Ariante Ursery or Woody Marks. Woody Marks has been awesome. Woody Marks has been amazing. And actually, Ursery last week up against the Baltimore Ravens had his best game of the season. No surprise there. But still, it was against Odafe Owe, who the Ravens ended up trading away to the Chargers after that Week 5 loss. But he's not a scrub. Kyle Van Noy, not necessarily a scrub. He was going up against decent competition in the edge rushers and didn't allow a single sack this past Sunday up against Baltimore. I see Nick Chubb. Oh, I didn't even think about Nick Chubb. That's another new Texan for this year. T. Hardinger says Woody, if they let him play. Yeah, I get that, but also Nick Chubb was great on the ground this past week. 11 carries, 60-something yards, and a tutty? I don't mind that at all. If you're just feeding the hot hand, if Chubb's going at it, if he's having a great game, I don't mind getting him some more carries. Same with Woody Marks. Texans Sally says Marks and Chubbs are a great help, but I'm seeing oodles of improvement all over. I like that word, oodles. Hit me that way. Thank you for getting another hashtag Texans question in. And good reminder from our producer, Jack. Super Chat menu on today's show. And I'm very excited to show you that we have it in studio. We didn't have it this past Sunday. It was on its way over. But if you want a chance to win this autographed JSA certified Will Anderson Jr. helmet, it's the H-Town alternate one. Every $5 Super Chat, you get a chance to get in that bad boy. And Lion Fighter, the first Super Chat of the program. You know what? Because you were the first Lion Fighter, I'm going to give you 3 raffle entries for that $5 super chat into this Will Anderson Jr. raffle. The first one, somebody's got to get on the dance floor and start the movement, and it's Lion Fighter X. Hey, brother, I've been here just quiet. Bulls on parade. Hey, I appreciate that, Lion Fighter, an absolute real one. He was here all last season as well, so shout out to you. Appreciate you for pulling up. I'm going to give you, like I said, for you being the first super chat on today's show, I'm going to give you 3 free raffle entries for, or not free, but 3 raffle entries for that Will Anderson Jr. raffle. And you know what? I said if you pull up to the live shows, you'll get a chance to get a free Will Anderson Jr. raffle ticket. I'm a man of my word, so this is what I'm going to do. If you want a free raffle ticket right now, 2 steps. First off, you got to like the video. Go down and like the video if you want a chance to get a free Will Anderson Jr. raffle ticket. The other thing that you got to do is I just want you to tweet at me Waj, W-A-J, Waj. If you like the video and then you tweet at me, W-A-J, I'm going to give you a free raffle ticket on today's program. I just put my Twitter link in the chat. If you're not following me already, at Jeremy Chuggs. If you want a free raffle entry, 2 easy steps. Like the video and then go tweet at me, W-A-G. I'm going to go ahead and add all those people into the Will Anderson Jr. raffle. We'll get this party popping. I always say, if you want free raffle entries, if you want, more chances to get free raffle entries, tune into the live shows every Wednesday, 3:30. We got you covered every Texans game day as well. I got you covered. Texans Tally and Luis, I don't have social media. Oh, you know what? That's okay. Like the video. After this next segment, I'll give away if you don't have social media, I'll be able to give y'all some free raffle tickets as well on today's program. But for those of you who do have social media, tweet at me, W-A-J. I see Adam tweeted at me. You're getting a free entry, a.k.a. Big A0224. Big _A_0224. And then Mr. Real and Never Fake, a.k.a. Twain24. And then I also see Don B. It's Brandon. You got a free raffle entry as well. Tweeting Waj to me. Let's go. Let's freaking go. And a reminder, I also see John Carlo getting in as well. Reminder, if you do send in a super chat, you can also put in a question if you want to get on the mailbag. So you can kind of double up. Send in a super chat. You can get a raffle entry for the Will Anderson Jr. helmet. And you'll be able to get your question in on the mailbag. As ASOT23. There we go. He says H-Town. Hold it down. Let's go. ASOT23. I'll give you a couple raffle entries for that one, buddy. ASOT23 getting in for the Will Anderson Jr. autographed helmet raffle. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it in here. I'm not going to take it out of the case so I don't get my grimy fingers all over it. But it is JSA certified. It came in this cool Fanatics box. Look at this. Oh. But yeah, super cool. If you want a chance to win that bad boy, we're doing that raffle all throughout the month of October. So, I know rent money was just due. So if you don't have any, super chat money today, all good. We're doing this throughout the entire month of October, so you won't miss an opportunity. Every single live show, every game day watch party that we do, you'll have an opportunity to get in until the very end of the month of October. All right, I see a lot of people getting their hashtag Texans in as well. Thank you, all of you, for getting those questions in on today's show. And I think it's about time to get into this next segment. We're talking a little trade. Obviously, it's the bye week, so we got to talk about something. And through 5 weeks, I think there's some guys that definitely are inching towards that trade block for your Houston Texans. Some guys who have been some healthy and active, some healthy scratches during the Texans' first 5 weeks of the season. We've already seen roster moves be made. C.J. Gardner-Johnson released. We already saw Cam Robinson traded to the Cleveland Browns. Will Nick Caserio continue to make moves? We'll have to see. But on the program coming up, I'm going to give you my top Texans trade candidates heading in to Week 6 of the NFL season. on today's show, I'm going to give you the top Texans trade candidates based on the first 5 weeks of the NFL season. And if we know anything about this Texans front office, Nick Caserio, they are ready to wheel and they are ready to deal. They've already made a bunch of moves throughout the offseason, during the regular season. Heck, they already traded Cam Robinson to the Cleveland Browns just a couple weeks ago. So it's very plausible that they can make a couple more moves and maybe send a couple other guys out of Houston in doing so. And a quick reminder, the NFL trade deadline is set after week 9. So week 6, the Texans have a bye week. 3 games to then determine if they want to trade guys away or keep them on the roster for the entirety of the 2025 NFL season. We'll have to look at that week 7 game up against the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. Week 8 at home up against the San Francisco 49ers, and week 9 up against the Broncos. After this Broncos game, then it will be the NFL trade deadline, where it will be the last opportunity for all the NFL teams to make trades during this season. And the thing is, guys, when the Texans make a move, we break it down here on the channel. We are the #1 Texans YouTube channel out there for news and rumors content. We got you covered 365 days a year, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So if the Texans make a move, if anything happens around the Houston Texans, you know we're already breaking it down here. So go down, hit that subscribe button for daily Texans content all year long. All right, let's look at the first Texans trade candidate. I'm going with Blake Fisher. And this one might be a little bit controversial. I know. A lot of people are saying, really, Chuggs? Blake Fisher? He was drafted in the 2nd round just, a year ago? I know. But the reports that I heard this offseason, let's just say they weren't glowing remarks around Blake Fisher. And he struggled to find the field. The most that he's found the field so far is being the, heavy package tight end for this Texans team. Whenever they go 6 offensive linemen, they trot out Blake Fisher. But now with Trent Brown adding to the mix, another tackle for this Texans team, could they possibly look to end the Blake Fisher experiment early? I know he's still really young. The Texans took him as a developmental guy, but if he's not developing, if he's not, on the right track, there's definitely a lot of teams that would be interested in looking at a young offensive tackle prospect. And I saw something that was very interesting. This tweet from Texans Cap. Assuming the trajectory for Blake Fisher remains as is, the Titus Howard contract situation is escalating week by week, with a fascinating offseason showdown coming. So I'm not saying it's going to be one or the other, but this offseason, maybe not during the regular season, maybe it happens after the season's done, the Texans are going to have to look themselves in the mirror and say, who do we want to start at right tackle for the next couple of seasons? Do we want to re-up Titus Howard, give him another contract extension, and keep him as the right tackle in Houston? Or do you turn the reins over to the young guy in Blake Fisher and let him assume the right tackle duties? It's got to be one or the other, because Blake Fisher, he's on a rookie deal. This is his 2nd year of his rookie deal. He was a 2nd-round pick, so 4-year deal for Blake Fisher. And if he's not starting by year 3 or year 4, are you really going to re-sign him at that point if he's a backup swing tackle? Probably not. So it would probably be better for the Texans front office to go ahead and trade him while his value is a little bit higher during this regular season for a lot of offensive tackle needy teams. Now, I don't know if they would trade Titus Howard. I don't think it happens during the regular season. This might be something that we got to revisit, though, once this season is done. I want to hear from you folks at home, though. Will Nick Caserio make another trade this season? Go down in the comment section. Give me your thoughts. Give me a yes, no. Give me a maybe down below. What are your thoughts? Will Nick Caserio make another trade this season? Why not? I'm going to say yes. He's already wheeled in deals. He's already showed he's not afraid to make moves. I think it is very plausible that after week 9, or maybe even leading into week 9, we see the Texans involved in another trade, whether that be sending somebody out or maybe even bringing somebody in. If they're sending somebody out, it might be this guy, Dameon Pierce. And as a Texans fan, this one's tough because after his rookie year, I had the highest of hopes for one Dameon Pierce. I thought he was going to be awesome. We all remember the clips of him running over guys, and that one clip of him in college playing at Florida where he lost his helmet and still went into the end zone. And I mean, look at these rookie year stats in 2022. He only played 13 games, 220 carries, 939 yards, 7 carries of 20-plus yards, and 4 touchdowns on the year for DP. He was fantastic. But now he doesn't really see the field. Nick Chubb, it's Woody Marks. It's that 1-2 combo. I don't know when or if Joe Mixon comes back, but if he does, that's kind of the nail in the coffin for Dameon Pierce. But they're playing Dare Ogunbowale over him in meaningful snaps. The only rush attempts that he got this past week, garbage time, up against the Baltimore Ravens. Once the game was already in hand, 44-10, they're like, all right, we'll put Dameon Pierce in and we'll let him get some snaps. And before it was like, oh yeah, he gives you some special teams value. He's a pretty good kick returner. Now you already have guys for that. Tremon Smith, the backup corner, he's been doing a decent job. Jalen Knoll, the rookie out of Iowa State, he's also been a pretty good return man for this Texans team. So I don't really see where he even fits in this Texans squad. Like, he doesn't really have a purpose on this Texans team. He's been a healthy scratch multiple times this season already. And if that's the case, if you're having somebody on your 53-man that doesn't contribute, doesn't make sense to keep him on the roster. So why not try to get anything you can for Dameon Pierce? I don't care if it's a 7th-round pick, because that's better than having a guy on your roster that doesn't play at all. And I think this Texans team, they like Nick Chubb more, they like Woody Marks more, they like Ogunbowale more, they might even like British Brooks more than they like Dameon Pierce at this point. Now, coming up, I have some trade candidates on the defensive side of the football who could be shipped out as we get closer to this NFL trade deadline. I'll tell you who that is in just a moment. But this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. You and I, we make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia, and they put their users first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this season. And Jack, I actually want to show them my college football lineup. Here we go, because my Mean Green, let's go North Texas. They have a massive showdown on Friday, and you bet your bottom dollar I'm putting in a lineup for it. Caleb Hawkins, the freshman running back, 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. Give me the more on that. Drew Mestemaker, possibly an NFL quarterback in the future, 2.5 passing touchdowns. Yeah, the demon pick, I don't care. I'm going the more on that. Wyatt Young, 30.5 receiving yards. I'll go more. And then you have to add other teams or other players as well. You can't just go all one squad. So I added a couple other guys to make Saturday a little bit more interesting. Fernando Mendoza, a massive matchup, Indiana-Oregon. I'll go more on his passing yards. And I know Arch has been bad. He's been really bad. But he's going to get one touchdown, right? Right? I think he will. This is my lineup. You can use it or go ahead and make your own for this weekend. Just do it with our friends over at Prize Picks. It's the best way to win cash while watching sports this season. Join millions of users and sign up today. But when you sign up, make sure to download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the football. And this is probably the easiest one. Everybody guessed that he was going to be on the list. It's Christian Harris, linebacker. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. And, you know, the amount of videos that I've made around Christian Harris on the channel, whether that be, will the Texans trade him? Will the Texans release him? Could this be the year that Christian Harris breaks out? I don't know. Like, I think the Christian Harris experiment might be done, and I'm not going to say it's, officially over, but the fact that he was a healthy scratch in Baltimore, it's not looking good for 48. And ESPN insider Jeremy Fowler, he doesn't think it's looking good for him either. This is what he had to say in an article he released just the other day. Elsewhere on the personnel front, linebacker Christian Harris has been a healthy scratch, is in a contract year, and is well regarded by other teams for potential trade interest that might intrigue Nick Caserio, one of the NFL's most aggressive general managers. And I kind of asked the Chat Sports office, I said, does anybody need a linebacker? Does anybody want a linebacker? Lucky enough for us Texans fans, Tom Downey, the host of the Cowboys Report here at Chat Sports, he picked up the phone, ring, 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 and we decided to strike up this trade idea. He called me. He said, hey, how about a late-round pick swap? He was going to go 6th and 7th. I said, no. Give me 5th for a 6th. We budged. we got it. So this was the trade idea from Tom Downey. It's a 2026 fifth-round pick, and then the Texans are going to send Christian Harris and a 2026 sixth-round pick. Just a late-round pick swap for Christian Harris. Like I said, last year of his deal, I don't think the Texans are going to bring him back next year, so at least you're getting something for him before he gets out of the door. But I know a lot of Texans fans have a sweet spot in their heart for Christian Harris. So let me know, who wins this trade? Is it Dallas, type DAL, or is it the Houston Texans, type HOU? Let me know down in the comments section. I think the Texans win this because they, get something for a guy that was probably going to walk out of the door anyways. Let me know down in the comment section, though, what your thoughts are on this trade. All right, last up for my Texans trade candidates, and I hate putting him on this list because I actually really like Tim Settle, the defensive tackle for this Texans squad. I don't think he's a bad player whatsoever. I think he's a good rotation guy and can be a spot starter for you on that defensive line. Problem is, the Texans just have too many of them. The Texans have too many defensive linemen, and DeMeco Ryans, he's going to be coming back pretty soon from injury, and I don't know where that leaves a couple of these guys. Like Tim Settle isn't the main guy I'm saying, but I do think it'll be one of these guys listed right here. Mario Edwards Jr., Sheldon Rankins. They just extended Tommy Togai, and he has been playing awesome. Foley Fatukasi was just recently put on short-term IR. I actually probably got to fix that here on my depth chart. And then, like I said, DeMeco Ryans, he's on his way back to this Texans lineup. So once Autry is back, once Foley Fatukasi's back, where does that leave somebody like a Tim Settle Jr.? Last year of his contract as well. And like I said, I don't want to trade away Tim Settle Jr., but it comes a time where you just have too many guys. You're not going to be able to play all these defensive linemen. Maybe you keep them. Maybe, keep a couple guys. You keep Foley Fatukasi on, IR and bring him back later on in the season. Maybe you mess things around like that. But with the Houston Texans, I just don't know what this defensive line is going to look like once Autry comes back, because he plays both. He plays defensive tackle and he plays defensive end. And if they're not going to re-sign Tim Settle Jr., like I kind of said with Christian Harris, it might be better to get something while his value is still pretty high. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, if you disagreed with anything I said today, my DMs are always open, at Jeremy Chuggs. And if you made it to the end of the program, hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 36,000 subscribers, so be one of those and make sure to hit that sub button for daily Texans content. All right, and we got a super chat coming in from Zach Rose. Here we go. I will go ahead and give you a raffle entry for that Will Anderson Jr. helmet. Here we go. Zach Rose with the super chat. He says, keep Fisher. I like him in the jumbo package, but Pierce, Harris, and Tim Settle, all three trade for Breece Hall in a fifth. I mean, I don't think that's likely at all. I don't think you're getting three guys. I mean, Tim Settle, it would be more likely to just do Tim Settle for Breece Hall straight up if the Jets needed an offensive tackle. That would be more likely. Dameon Pierce, Christian Harris. I guess just they're all in the final years of their contract too. So if you're the Jets, I mean, unless you plan on giving out 3 contract extensions for this trade, I don't know if an 0-4 team is looking to, make a huge splash. Yeah, I like the idea here, and I actually will mention Breece Hall coming up in this next segment. Look out, because we're going to be talking about trade targets now for the Houston Texans. But I want to know, who do you think is the better trade chip for this Texans squad? Who do you think will garner more interest in the trade market? Do you think it's Christian Harris, type CH, or do you think it's Dameon Pierce, type DP? Let me know down below. Who do you think is the bigger catch? Who do you think will be, someone who more teams will pick up the phone and call about? And I'm actually very surprised because, okay, there we go, a couple CHs. The first 3 I saw were all DP from Philip Castillo, Ace Spades, and 1TZ Cosmo. I actually lean more with Christian Harris because running back, I feel like it's a lot easier to find running backs, just in free agency too. Gus Edwards is still a free agent at the running back spot. There's, definitely more talent, I feel like, at running back than there is at linebacker. So I would necessarily go CH. Let me know your thoughts down below. There's no wrong answers here. I'm just spitballing of what I would think would be the better trade chip for this Texans squad. As I get another sip, How water, my favorite water. T. Hardinger says both. Por qué los no dos? Why not both? Daniel Vasquez says CH. Is it too much to ask for both? Ace Spades, I like DP because it's DP. Who don't like it? I mean, yeah, like, and that's the thing is, like, I feel like Texans fans have fallen in love with both these guys, right? Dameon Pierce had a great rookie season. And then Christian Harris, just a couple years back, DeMeco Ryans, CJ Stroud's first year here, he has the amazing pick 6 up against the Cleveland Browns, up against Joe Flacco, who this week got traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. But both these guys near and dear to Texans fans' hearts. They don't want to see them go, but at the same time, like I said, both of them don't really have a spot on this Texans roster this year. Reminder, Zach Rose, you got yourself a Will Anderson Jr. helmet raffle entry. You know what, Zach? If you super chat today, I'll give you a dose. I'll give you 2 raffle entries for the Will Anderson Jr. helmet raffle if you super chat on today's show, because I know Wednesday live shows don't get as crazy as those game day watch parties, but I do appreciate y'all for showing up and really representing, showing out here at Texans Today. Like I said, JSA certified. Look at that bad boy, Will Anderson Jr. I had an option to choose between this or the red one. I liked the alternate helmet. Did I make the right decision? Yes or no? Let me know. It was between this one or the, alternate red helmets that we have. I was like, I kind of like the alternate. I'd rather go with this one rather than the red helmet. Do you think I made the right choice, Jack? Jack says it looks cool. That's enough for me. Ace of Spades says, I like the red TBH. I mean, it's hard. I like both of them as well. I was just like, you know what? I like the H-Town alternate one. It's a little different, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that one. Maybe we get the other one in the future. Texans Tally getting in for this Will Anderson Jr. I almost said jersey. Helmet raffle. Texans Tally, thank you so much. The culture is changing. Juan Perez says, I like the H-Town one as well. Hell yeah, you do. And I did promise that I would give a chance to get some more free entries, so this is what I'm going to do. Once we hit 100 likes, we're at 90 likes. We need 10 more. There's 106 people watching, so beep, boop, beep, boop. 16 people need to hit the like button. If you want a free entry, let's get to 100 likes, and I'll let producer Jack choose 2 people who are spamming WAJ. If you like the video, we get to 100 likes, and you spam WAJ down below in the comment section, I'm going to let producer Jack choose 2 people to get free entries into the Will Anderson Jr. raffle. Texans Tally, I gave you 2 entries for your super chat. Thank you so much. He said after week 5 insanity, forget predictions. Feels like any team can make the playoffs. Just keep building that mojo. Peace, love, and TDs. Let's go Texans. Texans Tally, let's go. I actually think this is a decent one that we could throw in the mailbag, producer Jack. Once that thing gets going. We're 1 like away. 1 more like, and we'll be able to give away a couple free raffle entries for the raffle for this Will Anderson Jr. helmet. VW Blue Sky, another real one. Texans have time to prepare for this Monday night. No excuses, 100%. This is, game coming off your bye week Monday night. You are going to Seattle, and it's going to be a tough environment. I know they get really loud up there in Lumen Field. But I agree with you, VW. You got to get prepared, and you got to be ready to come out swinging, because if you win this Week 7 game up against the Seahawks after the bye, you really control your own destiny, because you play the Colts twice, you play the Jags once again, you play the Titans again. You definitely win this AFC South. And a weird stat, maybe I'm not going to say a fun stat because it doesn't make me feel good with how the Texans started, but producer Jack, I don't know if you knew this. The Texans have never made the playoffs without winning the division. They have never been a wild card team. Pretty crazy. They've only made the playoffs after winning the division. They have never been a wild card squad. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jack just said the AFC South the past couple of years, we haven't been good to have two teams make the playoffs. It's tough, but I mean, I tend to agree. But maybe not a fun fact because Texans not in a great spot right now to win the division. But maybe we change things and at least get a wild card spot this year if we can continue our winning ways, especially like VW Blue Sky said, that Monday Night Football matchup after this bye week. Zach Rose getting 2 more entries for the raffle. Shout out to you, my good friend. Thanks for the content, bro, and the giveaways. This bye week is too long, so thanks again for helping out. It's good and bad because obviously, bye weeks are always good, so you get some guys back in there healthy. People are able to kind of, have a little bit of a break, get a little bit of reset for the team. But, dude, coming off two back-to-back wins, I actually don't like that we're in a bye week. I like the fact that we had something rolling after the Titans, after the Ravens game. I would have loved if we would have been able to get another game, another win under our belt this week. I think we were kind of rolling. So I hope it doesn't stop our momentum. I hope we keep on going. But, I'm not going to complain with getting a couple of guys back from injury. But I do kind of wish we had a later bye because the early bye, I do wonder if that'll come back to bite us in the butt later on if we do get some injuries later on in the season. Alberto Serrato, let's go! Alberto, you're getting a bunch of raffle tickets for that one, my good friend. He's a legend here at Texans Today, Alberto Serrato. I think you and Bennett Kuchka easily have the most raffle tickets for this Will Anderson Jr. helmet so far. You have a good amount, my good sir, and you just added a couple more. I have to support Chuggs this week because of the bye week. Texans need to keep up the momentum they had during the Ravens game, and I completely agree. We did hit 100 likes, by the way. Thank you to everybody who hit the like button. Producer Jack, he's going to go ahead and pick 2 people at random who are spamming WAJ. So if you want a chance to win a free raffle entry, I'm going to give 2 away during this live show. All you got to do is spam that WAJ because we just did hit 100 likes. Okay, Producer Jack just told me Houston Texans fan 107. You just got one of the free raffle entries, so congrats to you, my good sir. And then we're going to give 1 more away. He's looking. All right, Ace Spades. He said Ace Spades gets the next one. There we go. And, I do have to say, every 20, I add another helmet sticker to the Texans Hall of Fame helmet. Houston Texans fan 107, thank you so much. Hey, don't thank me. Thank Producer Jack. He's the one that picked you. And if you were here for our last watch party, maybe the biggest battle this season has been me against these damn stickers. Oh, I almost got it. That was a battle. I didn't know if this one was coming off. I was like, do I just do a bunch of stickers before and just have them ready? But then I don't want to waste them. Yeah, I don't want to take a bunch off and then not use them and, kind of waste them because then my boss will be looking at me like, Jeremy, why are you wasting all these stickers I bought you? Evan McGinley, Chuggs. Evan, you know what? I'm giving you a raffle entry. Evan's always showing up and always here. Evan McGinley. Alberto, we need some Chuggs-friendly stickers. Dude, I know. Look at these. Look at these sausages. And look at the size of this sticker. These sausages are having a tough time getting these stickers off. Philip Castillo, need the space helmet. Hey, if you want a chance to win this, every $20 super chat, I add another sticker to the space helmet. If you have one of these, I'm writing your name down every time you get a sticker. Anybody who has a sticker, I'm going to raffle this one off and give it to somebody at the end of, or not at the end of the season, whenever we fill it up. So whenever this gets filled up, if you sent in a $20 super chat, you'll have a chance to win this bad boy. I'm going to send off the Texans Space Helmet to one of our awesome subscribers. Hey, you like it, I love it. You like it, I love it. Evan McGinley up in the building, and same with James Gibson. I'm going to give you a couple of these raffle entries, my good sir, James Gibson. I'll give you 3 for that one. He says, let's open it up, Texans, after the bye week and show why we should be the team to beat in the AFC. WAJ, let's go Texans. All right. And you know what? You did type WAJ, so I'll actually give you one more free one, Mr. James Gibson. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Texans Tally, that helmet's totally my thing. Appeals to my inner NASA nerd as much as my Texans fan geeking. Fun fact, Texans Tally, I grew up in the NASA area, South Houston, and I actually had multiple friends whose parents worked at NASA. I don't know if you work at NASA, but one of my friends, they were actually twins. They were 1 grade below me. Their dad was the first person on Earth to grow a plant in space. Pretty fun fact. And he also opened up a Rita's Ice near me. I don't know which one is a bigger contribution to society, the plant in space or the Rita's Ice, because that Rita's Italian Ice was bomb. But Zach! All cap Zach! Texans Tally, I used to teach field trips at Rocket Park on the Wednesdays at the Battleship Texans on weekends. Best decade ever. Rocket Park. I think that's where I used to. Is that the one? I don't think they have the slide anymore, but is that the park where it's the big rocket and the slide goes down and there's the baseball fields? Because that's where I played Little League Baseball, if that's what you're talking about, Texans Tally. I think that's what it is. It's right across the street from the library over there. Dude, that was my stomping yards. Actually at the rec center right across from that. That's where I used to do I was a camp counselor for summer camp. Zach Rose says Colts and Jags have not played anyone good this year. I don't agree with that. The Jags have played the Chiefs. I do not have faith in Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence. I think these 2 wins and CJ getting AFC Offensive Player of the Week is going to help turn the tides. I do agree with that one. Okay, Texas Tally says it's where the Apollo rocket is. Okay, I used to call the park that I went to Rocket Park because it had a big rocket ship with a slide down it. But all good. All right. We are getting ready to get into our next segment. We're going to look at Texans trade targets now. We talked about guys the Texans could trade away. Not as fun. Let's talk about guys that the Texans could trade for. So, as long as my producer Jack is ready to roll, I'm ready. Actually, let me get one more sip of the agua. Spam those H's if you're ready for this next segment, just like Austin Alvarez, Juan Perez is. Here we go. Let's get into our next segment here on Texans Today, and I'll have a quick question at the top of the show that I'll need every single person to answer for today's program. Question of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Will the Texans make a move to contend in the AFC? We already know Nick Caserio. He's a wheeler and dealer, especially during the draft. He trades more than almost anybody. Maybe him and Howie Roseman of the Philadelphia Eagles are the top 2. But as we get near and near the trade deadline, reminder, it's after the Texans' Week 9 game up against the Denver Broncos. Do you think the Texans are going to try to make a move to contend? Let me know down in the comment section. That is the number 1 question in today's program because I think the Texans could, in fact, make a move nearing the trade deadline if they want to improve this roster and become legit contenders in the AFC. All right, let's look at some positions and needs first. Offensive line. I think that is the number 1 position where all Texans fans are going to first go to because that's been the biggest talking point over the past, year and a half, 2 years is this offensive line. And we've talked about a lot of these guys already on the program. Evan Neal, he was brought up in a Bleacher Report trade article. We talked about him, the pros and cons of maybe signing the former first-round pick out of Alabama. He was a tackle, now plays predominantly guard, and he's a big boy, 6'7", 340 pounds. And we do know DeMeco Ryans loves himself some Alabama prospects. So he is an option that we could look at nearing the trade deadline. I think this would be a 6th or 7th round pick if they're looking to trade for a guy like Evan Neal. We also discussed Jackson Powers Johnson. The wheels seem like they're sort of, coming off in Las Vegas. Pete Carroll is slowly losing that locker room. Jackson Powers Johnson was a healthy scratch, a benched guy for multiple games during this season already. He's arguably the best offensive lineman that the Raiders have. If they're looking to have a complete reboot, a rebuild, everything, I know it doesn't make that much sense because he's a younger guy, but there has been some friction between him and Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly came out and said, I don't know why everybody is clamoring over this guy. He's not that good. I mean, he was basically saying, you know what? Everybody says they want Jackson Powers Johnson to start at center. I don't think he's the best center on this team, which maybe Chip Kelly, maybe the Powers get into his head once again, because that's absolutely crazy. We talked about this one, and this would probably be a mid-round pick, like a third or fourth round pick to get a guy like a Jackson Powers Johnson nearing the trade deadline. And another one that I saw on Twitter, which I haven't talked about yet, Eric McCoy from the New Orleans Saints. He's a center guard a center guard in the NFL, and is a really good player. The Saints, obviously, only one win on the year? So they could be sellers as well. I'm looking at teams that could be sellers near the deadline, and Eric McCoy is another intriguing option if the Texans want to upgrade at the offensive line spot. But this is going to be a hot take for y'all. I actually kind of like where the Texans offensive line is right now. I would probably focus on other areas of improvement near the trade deadline, because I actually think the Texans offensive line is in a pretty decent spot. Jake Andrews has been playing better and better. I also think Jarrett Patterson is a decent option there at the center spot. I like Juice Scruggs at left guard. He's been playing much better now that they moved him from center to guard and kind of taken away his starting spot, had to earn it back from Laken Tomlinson. I liked what I've seen out of the former second-round pick from Penn State in Juice Scruggs. And then right guard, Ed Ingram, he's been actually the second highest rated guard according to PFF during this season. You have the tackles, Ariante Ursary at left tackle, Titus Howard at right tackle. So I actually, weirdly enough, I actually don't think the Texans need to trade for an offensive lineman at this point. If they want, a rotation guy, maybe like an Evan Neal for a late round pick, that would make a little bit of sense. But I don't think that's the most pressing need for this Texans team right now. I actually think this spot might be the most pressing need. Tight end. Now, call me crazy, but I think the Texans do need another tight end. I really believe Nick Caserio, offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, had a big plan for the Texans tight end room. But then you saw them drop like flies. Brevin Jordan, season-ending injury before the year even got going. Cade Stover, hairline fracture in his foot. He could return at some point. We don't know when that will be. Harrison Bryant, we traded for him from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been a decent addition. Brendan Bates as well. But I still think you can upgrade. If the Texans had more talent in the tight end room, I think this offense could be that much better. Dalton Schultz has been showing out the past couple weeks. And Nick Caserio, I think he likes to scheme those tight ends open. We don't really have a lot of weapons, though, at the tight end spot. So coming up, I'm going to break down a couple tight ends that I think the Texans could look at if they want to upgrade that position near the trade deadline. Before I get into those guys, quick word from our sponsor. I love PrizePicks, and I know you will too. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. And it's super simple. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your pick right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. And huge game. My alma mater, I went to the University of North Texas, and they have maybe the biggest game in school history this Friday. UNT versus 24th ranked USF. Whoever wins that, they have a good chance at getting some playoff ball. I didn't think I would ever say that as a, alumnus of the University of North Texas, but here we are. I put in a lineup for college football. Caleb Hawkins, their freshman running back. I'm going more on the 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. Drew Messemaker, our amazing quarterback. I'm going more on the 2.5 passing touchdowns. Wyatt Young, the young receiver. Give me 30.5 receiving yards. Give me the more. Fernando Mendoza, because you can't just do one team. You got to add a couple more. Indiana, I think he'll go more on that passing yards. And Arch Manning, even though he's been basura, I think he will, in fact, get one touchdown in that Red River rivalry. You can use my lineup or go ahead and use your own. Just do it with our friends over at PrizePicks. It's the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Hey, just make your picks in less than 60 seconds, and you can turn those sports opinions into real money all season long. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, so I mentioned a couple tight ends. It's lucky enough for the Texans, there's multiple good tight ends that are on the trade block. I talked to our Ravens host, Joey Peterson. He said Mark Andrews could definitely be available for the right price. I don't know if that's a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick. Andrews is really good. And if the Texans are able to add a talent like him, that would go a ways into upgrading this offense and upgrading the weapons around C.J. Stroud. Another one, and it's funny enough because Zach Rose, he literally just put it in our live chat. If you don't know, I'm making this video during my live show Wednesdays every week at 3:30. I go live. He said Njoku, you'll probably have to pay him if you trade for him. He's on the trade block as well, and you are 100% right, Zach Rose. That's maybe the one detractor of getting a guy like a David Njoku because, he's young. You'll still have to pay him. Could the Texans look to do that? Maybe, tight ends, I don't think right now a guy of David Njoku's, status, I don't think he'll go for a crazy amount, but still it'll cost you a pretty penny to go ahead and trade for and then sign a guy like a David Njoku. I have a question for you because I think those are the top two tight ends that all Texans fans are looking at if we want to trade for a big name. So go down in the comment section and let me know. You had to pick one, Mark Andrews or David Njoku. Who would you trade for? Give me an MA for Mark Andrews. Give me a DN for David Njoku. I think these two guys, if you get either of them, that takes this Texans offense to a whole nother level. Let me know who you got. Mark Andrews, David Njoku. I'll be looking down in the comments section. Lastly, go to the defensive side. I think the only part that we are looking at in this defense that needs an upgrade is in the secondary. And it's not necessarily starting guys, even though a couple of these guys could definitely be traded to teams and start. You just need depth because the guys who are starting, they're good, but I think you could use a couple extra guys in depth pieces. I do have one guy at in the back half that I do think could be a starter for this Texans team. Let's look at some backup options first. Rick Woolen, the former UTSA product, drafted by the Seahawks, has been there for a little bit. He's not overworn his welcome, but the Seahawks have a lot of young corners that they like more than Rick Woolen. So if they want to move off from him, maybe, somebody who the Texans can nag, and if they want to move pieces around or, God forbid any of our players get injured, he's a good backup option for this Texans squad. Still on that rookie deal, that could be an interesting option. Another expensive option, kind of like his teammate in Cleveland, David Njoku, Greg Newsome would be another more expensive option that you would have to pay for as a cornerback, can slide in there, be a backup, be a, spot starter for you, can help out. He plays nickel, can play outside as well. I don't mind the idea of looking at a guy like a Greg Newsome as well. And this is the guy who I think could start with this team. And funny enough, he was actually drafted by your Houston Texans. Justin Reed, now a member of the New Orleans Saints, and they have a couple safeties that are younger than him that I think could definitely take over if the Saints wanted to get off of Justin Reed's contract. And if the Texans are looking to replace that safety position in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, M.J. Stewart, he's played really well. You also have the rookie Jalen Reed, who I think can step in. Jimmy Ward is another guy who's coming off injury, could possibly step in. If those guys don't cut it, though, by week 9 and you really want to upgrade the safety position, if you're looking for a starter, I actually think Justin Reed might be the best option for a starting safety in the trade market. Obviously, like I said, was drafted by the Houston Texans, has been around the league a little bit, played for the Kansas City Chiefs for a bit of time. I think he'd be a decent option if you want to look, and the New Orleans Saints, I think, would be more than happy to oblige because they are looking to rebuild. They are not trying to win this year. They are trying to set up themselves up for the future. So maybe a 4th or 5th round pick could get it done for Justin Reed as they try to get off of a guy who doesn't really fit their timeline for winning in New Orleans. Now, I did say during my live show I would mention this guy, and funny enough, he was my bonus name for the trade target. I don't necessarily think the Texans need to add a running back, but everybody keeps on linking the Houston Texans to Breece Hall, the Jets running back. And I wouldn't be upset if the Texans went ahead and traded for a guy like Breece Hall. I do think that would take a lot of carries away and take a lot of opportunities away from Woody Marks. So that's my biggest detractor. I think Nick Chubb, Woody Marks is already a really good 1-2 punch. I don't know if you necessarily need to add another guy to this running back room. I think at the end of the day, Joe Mixon will return towards the back half of this season. But a lot of people like the idea of getting Breece Hall. Like I said, I wouldn't mind it. I don't know what the Jets would even want in a trade for a Breece Hall. If it's a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, sure, I'm all in on getting Breece Hall. But if it's like a 3rd or 4th round pick, no way would I want to get Breece Hall because, like I said, I like Woody Marks. I want to see him get the carries. And if you bring in a guy like Breece Hall, that means the Woody Marks dream, it's not dead, but it's definitely shattered a little bit because he will not get nearly the amount of touches if you bring in a guy like Hall than if it was him and Nick Chubb. All right, that's all I got for you on today's show, folks. Hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, or if you think everything I said today was absolutely stupid. You can always hit me up in my DMs at Jeremy Chuggs. And if you made it to the end of today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Daily Texans content all year long here on Texans Today. All right, let me know. We have one more segment to go through on today's show, and it is our mailbag. Name a player you would want to trade for. Senior Larry saying, Breece. Bring Breece. He can be a 1-2 punch with him and Woody. But then what do you do with Nick Chubb? Nick Chubb's played well this year, right? Like, if you trade for Breece Hall, you're basically saying Nick Chubb are kicking you to the curb. Because right now, I mean, we look at the stats. Nick Chubb doing pretty well. He's averaging 4.3 yards a carry, 58 carries, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not bad so far for Nick Chubb. So, I mean, yes, like Breece Hall is better than Nick Chubb. I don't necessarily think you need it, though. And I do think, because Breece Hall wants to be a 3-down back, 100% that will take carries away from Woody Marks if you bring in a guy like Breece Hall. I don't care what you say. It will 100% affect the development of Woody Marks if you bring in Breece Hall. So if you're not in on Woody Marks, that's fine. Go ahead and trade for Breece Hall. But if you're like, oh, I am Team Woody, I want to see the rookie get all these carries, I want to see how he can do, then why bring in another running back to take carries, take opportunities away from Woody Marks? All right, Cody Harris with a super chat. Let's go. Getting you a couple raffle entries for the Will Anderson Jr. month-long raffle. Let me get those in for you, Cody. All right, here we go. Man, Christian Harris is the fastest, best coverage linebacker we have. When he has played, he doesn't miss tackles either. I'd trade EJ Speed first. But, Cody, the thing is, Christian Harris is the guy that's getting healthy and active. He's the guy that, I mean, yes, this could be true. He could be a better coverage linebacker, the fastest linebacker we have. But if he's a healthy and active, what does that even matter? He's not playing on this squad. And he's in the last year of his rookie contract, so more than likely, you're not going to re-sign Christian Harris. So at the end of the year, you're going to play him, a couple times and then let him walk in free agency. You get nothing for him, and I doubt you get a comp pick for Christian Harris because whenever he hits the free agent market, it's going to be probably like a 1 or 2 year deal in the like $2 or $3 million a year market. Like he's not going to get a ton of money. So I get where you're coming from, Cody, but at the same time, the Texans coaching staff does not agree with you on this. They just simply don't, or else he would have been playing in Baltimore this past week. One Set Piano says the best ability is availability. But Cody Harris, thank you for your super chat. Thank you for your thoughts. And you did get some raffle entries in for the autographed Will Anderson Jr. helmet. Every $5 that you spend in the month of October, you're getting raffle entries for this Will Anderson Jr. autographed helmet. It is from Fanatics, JSA certified, so you know it's legit. And I will say, we are about $40 away from the helmet mailbag. If you want to see that happen, all good. If not, I'm okay with that as well. The helmet's actually kind of hot, so if I don't have to wear it during the mailbag, I will not be too shattered on that one. But thank you to everybody who showed up so far. Make sure, get those hashtag Texans in if you want to get in on the mailbag and get your question up on screen. If you have a good question that you super chatted, we'll go ahead and throw it up on the screen for you as well. Kyle PSI, what's up, my guy? But you don't have to super chat to get on the mailbag. Oh, my God. Nobody has to match Alberto's 20. I said if we get 100, which we're now $20 away, I will wear the Texans helmet during this mailbag. God. Nobody has to match that 20 from Alberto. Nobody has to. It's all good. Alberto, I am going to give you a bunch more raffle tickets. And actually, that's another helmet sticker for Alberto as well. He has a good chance to win this bad boy whenever we go ahead and raffle off this Texans helmet. Here we go. Alberto. Alberto the bomb. Nobody has to match that 20, so I have to wear the helmet. It's okay. As our favorite battle here on Texans Today, Jeremy against the sticker, round 25. Oh, I think I got it. There we go. That one was a little bit easier. I've had some major struggles with these bad boys. Sure, all of these are on nice and tight. There we go. You get in for that. You also get some raffle entries for our Texans, the Texans Hall of Fame helmet. Also, the Will Anderson Jr. autographed helmet as well. Neal, I don't know if my arms could take another 50 push-up live day. I don't know if my arms could take that. Kyle PSI with the helmet. Yeah, one more 20 and I have to wear the helmet during the entire mailbag section of here. Yeah. I know. I don't want to wear the helmet. Oh, James Gibson! James Gibson says, put it on! Put it on! James Gibson, you're getting a bunch of raffle entries as well. Oh. There we go. James Gibson. All right, let's see. That one from Alberto came off kind of easy. No, yeah, no dice on this one. This one's going to be a little bit of a toughie. Hold up. Oh. Woo! Literally doing these, I feel like in high school unclipping my first bra. Like, that's what this feels like, trying to get these off. Like, I am just, I have all the pressure. People are all looking at me. She was. I was in front, and she was. Yeah, me and all the girls that I was hooking up with at the time. They were all there. There we go. All right. Well, y'all know the deal. Texans Today mailbag coming up here in just one moment. James Gibson, let me make sure I'm getting, yep, your raffle entries are in. All right, so we're going to do this Texans Today mailbag. Make sure to use hashtag Texans or Super Chat to get on the show. Cody Harris, that's another good Super Chat. We'll put that during the mailbag. I will definitely need a sip of my How water. We are. Yeah, that's why there's a bunch in the fridge. How?
Yeah, it's more of a partnership than a sponsor. It's just I'll tell you more after this. But shout out to Hal. Oh, and my wife is watching. She's actually saying, "Hold up." My wife, who's watching, is laughing at me. Hold up. All right. My wife loves when I put on the helmet. All right, so we're going to get into our Texans Today mailbag, and that will finish us off on today's show. So if you want an opportunity to get on the program, hashtag Texans, or just like Cody Harris did, you can super chat your question, and you'll have a much higher chance at getting on the show. Is that better right there? Right there? Yeah? Yeah? Kind of fitting. All right, coming up, our Texans Today mailbag. Welcome in to Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs from Infinity and Beyond. We are answering all your questions here on Texans Today. All these questions are from our live show on, hold up, October 8th. There we go. It's not October 1st. October 8th, that's the magic of live television. Shout out to producer Jack. Use hashtag Texans or Super Chat if you are watching our live shows. We go live every Wednesday at 3:30. And if you're live, you know why I'm wearing this bad boy. Shout out to James Gibson. Shout out to Alberto Serrato. Without further ado, let's answer your questions around the Houston Texans. All right. First up, Cody Harris. We need a tight end, maybe Darnell Washington or another from Pittsburgh. I wouldn't mind that. The only thing is Darnell Washington, I don't know if he's more of a receiving threat as he is a bigger, like, run blocking. And, you know, he can catch the ball, but he's a big guy. I believe he's like 6'7", 6'8", over there in Pittsburgh, and he's still on a rookie deal. So I'm not sure if the Steelers would want to give up on a guy like that already. If they're willing to trade him, for sure, but I'd be more interested in a receiving threat, to be honest. Harrison Bryant, you know, Brendan Bates, Dalton Schultz, they're, you know, decent blockers. Dalton Schultz is definitely more of a receiving tight end in my opinion. But for me, maybe it's not what the Texans need, but I would prefer another receiving threat at the tight end spot. I talked about earlier in the week, you know, David Njoku, Mark Andrews as some trade targets that the Texans could look at if they want to go more of the receiving route on that end. Next up, CeeLo. Texans, what would you say is the percentage that we win the next game? That's a good question. We have a bye week, obviously, week 6. Week 7, we play Monday night up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. It's an away game, so that's going to be a toughie. The percentage chance, you know what? Give me a 50-50. I think it's anybody's ball game. The Seahawks are playing good. The Texans defense is playing really good. I mean, we saw that Seahawks-Bucks game. What was it? They each scored in the upper 30s. The Texans held that Tampa Bay offense in check. The Texans also are allowing the least points per game in the NFL by a wide margin. So the Texans defense will probably be the best defense that Seattle's faced so far. Let's see how Sam Darnold looks up against this Texans D. I think it's anybody's ball game, but obviously I'm rooting a little bit more heavily for my guys in Houston, the Houston Texans. I think it's anybody's game, but the Texans, they got to show up, and they can definitely win this game on Monday night with a little bit of extra rest from the bye week. Juan Diaz. Do the Texans even need Mixon at this point? That's a good question. I mean, I've talked about it, you know, before. Nick Chubb's having a decent year. And I really like Woody Marks, the rookie out of USC. I think both those guys have played well as kind of a 1-2 punch. I don't necessarily think the Texans need Mixon back, but, I mean, I think he would still be the best running back on this team if he came back healthy and came back kind of the same version that he was last year for this Texans offense. He was kind of the straw that stirred the drink for this Texans squad last year on offense. They struggled, but he was able to make plays out of nothing. Look back at that Cowboys Monday Night Football game last year. He absolutely dominated. So I do think Joe Mixon would be able to help the squad, even coming back later on in the year as maybe some fresh legs if the Texans are able to get back into this division race or, you know, make the playoffs as a wild card team. I definitely think Joe Mixon could help this squad this year. What do you think, though? Do the Texans need Joe Mixon to return this year? Or do you think we're already good without him? Do you think we're good with Nick Chubb and Woody Marks? Let me know down in the comment section. Give me a yes, give me a no down below, and give me your thoughts. I kind of said it. I think yes. Like, if Joe Mixon, if he comes back healthy, of course, I would be 100% down for Joe Mixon coming back to the squad, bringing some fresh legs towards the end of the year. But if it's like a 60, 70% Joe Mixon, I'd rather see Nick Chubb and Woody Marks at that point if he's not completely able to go by the time, towards the end of this year. Good question, though, Juan. Amanda Pearl, #Texans, do you think we have an actual shot at getting into the playoffs if we don't beat the Seahawks? 1 Toro head, no way. 4 Toro heads, we got this. Here at Texans Today, we love some Toro heads. If we lose to the Seattle Seahawks 1-4, I'm guessing 4 means we 100% make the playoffs. 1 means no way. I'd probably give it a 2. The only reason I'd give it a little bit more of a chance than 1 Toro head if we lose up against the Seahawks is the AFC is actually having a down year this year. You look, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're also 2-3. Like the Baltimore Ravens, they're 1-4. So the AFC isn't the absolute Goliath that it's been in the past couple of seasons. So that leaves the door open for a team like the Texans who play, the Tennessee Titans again. They play the Colts twice. They play the Jags again. And then towards the end of the year, their schedule gets much easier. They play the Raiders in the back half. They play the Cardinals in the back half. So that kind of opens up the door for the Texans. Even if they don't win this game, they definitely have to beat, either the Seahawks, the Broncos, or the 49ers. I think they have to beat 2 of those teams if they want a legitimate shot to at least win the division. But make the playoffs, I still think there's a shot just because the AFC, it's a little bit down this year. Oscar 713 with the question, #Texans, will Jimmy Ward start when he comes back, or will it be MJ Stewart? I think that's completely up to MJ Stewart. He played an awesome game up against the Baltimore Ravens, played pretty good up against the Tennessee Titans as well. I think if he continues on his role, I think you got to play the hot hand. And like I said, Jimmy Ward, he's very trusted by this Texans coaching staff. DeMeco Ryans, he was the first person he brought over in free agency once he got the head coaching job here in Houston. I think he'll have a chance, but if MJ Stewart's playing well, I don't see why you would go ahead and bench him even if Jimmy Ward comes back from injury. Stroud for MVP. I saw a video saying the Texans should trade for Breece Hall. Thoughts? Honestly, I think we develop Woody, and I completely agree with you, Stroud, for MVP. I would go ahead and develop Woody Marks, because if you trade for a guy like Breece Hall, that's going to more than likely take away the opportunities for a guy like a Woody Marks. Breece Hall wants to be a 3-down back. He wants to be that bell cow, and that leaves little room for a guy like Woody Marks, who showed a lot of improvement, showed a lot of promise so far in his rookie season. I think he does a really good job at pass blocking. He's really good at catching the ball out of the backfield as well. I would lean towards not giving away draft capital for a guy like Breece Hall and see what you have with Woody Marks for the rest of the season, but that's just me. I know a lot of people are on the train of wanting Breece Hall, but not so far. I'm okay with Nick Chubb and Woody Marks and possibly Joe Mixon if he's able to return. You know what I am in on? Our sponsor of today's program, and that is Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks, it's super simple. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. And we talk a lot about football, but actually, Producer Jack, I have a basketball lineup that I want to show the folks at home. I know I look like the secondary logo for the Rockets right now, but these are the season-long projections for Prize Picks. So not just football. They have everything over there. They have soccer. They have baseball. They have hockey. Whatever sport you're into, whatever, scratches that itch, they got you covered over on Prize Picks. This is the lineup that I'm rolling with for my season-long picks. Cooper Flagg, the first overall pick this past year. I think I'm going more on the 16.7 points per game with him in Dallas, replacing Luka. I think you're going to need to replace those points one way or another. Alperen Şengün, our sweet prince. He's been dominating over in Europe this offseason. 11 rebounds a game. Yeah, let me get more for the Houston starting center. And then James Harden, the beard, the former great in Houston. He's working in LA right now, but I still think he's good. 22 points a game. I'm also going the more on that. You can use my picks or go ahead and make your own. Just do it with our friends over at Prize Picks. And new, follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups, not just mine, in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. So get started today with our friends at Prize Picks. Download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Next up, back it up, Terry. Back it up, Terry. Hashtag Texans. Do the Texans have the best defense in the NFL? If you look at the numbers, they kind of do. They are by far allowing the least amount of points in the NFL so far. And when you look at the teams that we've played that we've lost to, right? The Rams, we held them pretty low. The Bucs, they didn't score a ton either up against the Houston Texans. We have been good on defense. We just haven't been able to score the football. So I would say, yes, the Texans, they're one of the top defensive teams, if not the top defensive team in the National Football League. So let me know. Rank the Texans defense so far. Scale it 1 to 32. 1, you think we have the best unit in the league. 32, you're saying, nah, this is the worst defense I've ever seen. I shouldn't see anything above 15, to be honest. I think this is for sure a top 10 unit. Where you rank them in there, that could be the difference. But how do you rank them outside the top 10? They are by far the best defense in terms of opponent scoring so far in the NFL. 1TZ Cosmo, hashtag Texans. Do you think Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel will get more targets based off the first 5 weeks? I think they do. I think they want to start implementing these guys more and more every single week. Jaden Higgins, he's steadily got the ball more and more. He got a touchdown up against the Tennessee Titans. And then you saw Jalen Noel. He got his first touchdown up against the Baltimore Ravens. So I think, the Texans would be dumb if they didn't. They spent a second and a third round pick on these guys. That's premium draft capital. So if you're not going to play them, what are we even doing here? You got to get them more involved. Nick Caserio, I think he's going to do that, and they're going to try to work them in more and more as the Texans have their bye week here in week 6. Good question, 1TZ. Jimmy Mitchell, thoughts on Jalen Reed? Be nice. That's my son. Oh, congrats, man. That's cool. I don't know if he's actually your son or if you're just kind of saying that, but either way, congrats to Jalen Reed. I do. I actually, funny enough, I made a video about Jalen Reed in the offseason saying that he was the hidden gem, one of the hidden gems that the Texans found in the draft this year, and I still believe that. A 6th-round pick out of Penn State. He balled out in Happy Valley, and he was looking good in the preseason, was looking good in training camp before that injury. With the Texans, safety room where it is right now, obviously MJ Stewart has stepped up a ton, but with the release of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that leaves a massive, hole in this Texans secondary that somebody like a Jalen Reed can definitely come up and fill at that rookie spot. I think, he's somebody who definitely has a great opportunity to show his stuff and, be a part of this awesome Texans rookie class so far. Urshree's played well. Woody Marks, the 2 receivers. Jalen Smith, he's been injured on and off, but he's played decent so far. I'd like to see Jalen Reed out there and see what he can do. I really would. Christian Tate here on Texans Today. Texans, are you back in on Caserio being a good OC? I'll be honest, hand up. I tweeted out after week 3, fire Nick Caserio. I'll say it. I did it. Maybe a little bit too premature. I'll also admit that. I think Nick Caserio is slowly starting to figure it out. Now, it's going to be a big test because Seahawks, not necessarily the best defense, but after you play the Seahawks, you play the Niners, and then you play the Broncos. 2 pretty good defenses. So we'll really see when rubber hits the road with this Nick Caserio offense, whether or not he'll be able to get it done against good defenses because, let's be honest, the Titans, the Ravens, they don't have good defenses right now. Let's see if the Texans can do it up against better competition. Then I'll give Nick Caserio more flowers. I will say, premature on me for saying fire Nick Caserio. Maybe a little bit heated after seeing my Texans just absolutely play like dog water the first 3 weeks on offense. Things are turning around, though. So I'm willing to be back in on Caserio. He's just got to show me something in these next 3 games with the Texans offense. T. Hardinger, Texans, who will we see first, Dell or Joe? I fixed it. Thank you, T. Hardinger. Ooh. I got to go with Joe Mixon. I got to go with Joe Mixon because definitely a less severe injury, right? Like, he's dealing with foot, ankle injury, and stuff like that. I mean, Tank Dell, he had to get 2 separate surgeries. He not only tore his ACL, also his MCL, and I believe, what is the other one? PCL? Every part of his knee was shattered on that play. I think it's hopeful thinking. I mean, if you saw what, Tank Dell was doing right now, you'd probably be very hopeful as well. I've been told that he's, been doing sprints, been working out in the weight room, been kind of catching balls at the jugs machine, stuff like that. So very promising for Tank Dell. But it's a lot different getting on the field. And once especially for his style of play, what made Tank Dell so good was those quick cuts. Him being able to be a route runner and, get the defender moving. That's going to be really tough with that knee injury. So I wouldn't want to rush him back. When Tank Dell's ready, more than anybody, I have a Tank Dell H-Town alternate jersey. I would love to see Tank Dell come back this year. It just worries me a little bit rushing somebody back from that knee injury with the possibility of re-injury when I think we have a decent wide receiver room already this year with the 2 rookies, Christian Kirk and Nico Collins. Kane Davenport, what's the most likely roster move during the bye? That's a good question. Most likely roster move during the bye, I would say adding another piece in the secondary, adding another, backup corner, maybe backup safety if needed. I don't know if the Texans necessarily make another move because it's an early bye week and you have a lot of guys that are getting healthy. I think once we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, we could definitely see the Texans look to make a couple moves. But right now, where the Texans sit at coming off 2 wins, I don't think they necessarily make a move during the bye. I think the move is letting your guys get healthy. DeMeco Ryans, we talked about Jalen Reed as well, among others, who could come back and help this Texans team down the stretch. All right, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for the #1 Texans channel here on YouTube. How many guys are out there doing mailbags in the Texans space helmet? I don't think a lot of them, just me. So if you love the Houston Texans, if you're a diehard, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. It's 100% for free. There we go. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's all she wrote. That is all she wrote. Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, that's legit. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who popped in to today's show. It was a fun one. Oh, gotta get some air really quick. It was a little hot in that helmet. Shout out to all of y'all, Brandon Hallam, Neal Razor, James Gibson, Yoda Jenkins, Kyle PSI. Thank you so much for making it to the end of today's show. And one more time, I always say it, you got to show up to the live shows to get free stuff. So one more time, if you want a raffle ticket for the Will Anderson Jr. helmet raffle, I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. You send in a $1 super chat, I'll give you a raffle entry right now. You made it to the end of the show today. I always say I'm going to give you all deals. I'm going to make it worth your while if you do show up to our Texans live shows on Wednesday. So Isaac Gutierrez, I'm going to give you 2 raffle entries because every dollar you spend here in the last 2 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all raffle entries for this Will Anderson Jr. autographed helmet right here. Hey, it's like a Marvel movie. You got to watch the end credits to be able to get some of the best parts, which is those end credit screens. Jack, one of our movie guy here at Chat Sports, he's nodding in agreement as well. So if you made it all the way to the end of the credits, and if you want a chance, this is your chance right now. $1. Juan Perez said, give me a raffle entry. All it takes is $1 to get a raffle entry at the end of today's show. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the program. I low-key won a Space City NASA uniform as an alternate. Hey, the Texans are getting their rival jerseys next year. You know how the Bills, the Dolphins, all those teams in the AFC East, they got their rival jerseys. Same with the NFC, the NFC West. Texans are up next year. The AFC South are getting their rival jerseys from Nike. So if you want a chance to maybe get one of those, I think it's a good opportunity that the Texans will go something Space City NASA themed for their rivalry jersey. We got to see. Maybe it's an all white. Maybe it's all blue. I'm hoping for some sort of Space City theme as well. Juan Perez got in. James Gibson says, let's go. Give me 2 more raffle tickets, my good sir. All righty.
James Gibson, 2 raffle tickets. We got about 30 more seconds before we dip out of here. Me and Jack, we still got a little bit of work to do to finish up our workday here at Chat Sports. But if you want an opportunity, Will Anderson Jr. helmet raffle, normally it's $5 for a raffle ticket. Since you made it to the end of the live show, every dollar you spend is another raffle ticket for it. If nobody else wants to get in, all good. We'll head out, and I will see y'all next Wednesday for my live show. Obviously, no live show this weekend because the Texans are on a bye week. But every Wednesday, we go live here at Texans Today, 3:30 Central Time. And, yeah, thank you so much. Alberto Serrato, I appreciate your content. Chuggs, keep up the good work. Let's go, Texans, Bulls on parade. Let's go, Alberto Serrato. Yoda giving a shout-out to Jack. He says, thanks, Chuggs, and thank you, Jack. Jack Lauderay pushing the 1s and 2s for us in today's program. All right, I think we gave you ample time. That's all we got for you on today's live show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. More videos coming throughout the week, so don't miss a thing. Hit that sub button. From me, from Jack, from Chat Sports, have a great weekend. And one more time, let's go North Texas! Let's go!